SEGA will kick off Sonic's 35th anniversary with several announcements. And while you're watching this video, a list of predictions and guesses has come up with some pretty interesting details. That's what I'm going to talk about in this video, my friends, so get excited because, man, the possibilities are huge. SEGA has made announcements, there are leaks, and some insider info is included here. So go ahead and say hi and comment here if you're going to play the new or remastered Sonic, because that's what I'm going to talk about right now. And save this video so you can come back in the future to see if we got the predictions right or not, alright? Beleza! Man, one of the things people got kind of upset about is wanting to know what's going to happen with Sonic in the future. And the most we've had so far in terms of game announcements are some DLCs for Sonic Racing, a pretty random indie game, right? It's kind of fun, but it's nothing special. And a bunch of merchandising stuff that we probably won't see in Brazil, but it's nice to see what's happening. Among the possibilities, man, people talk a lot about the existence of a new mobile game. I know people got kind of upset, but the last time we saw a new Sonic game being released was Sonic Dream Team, which was announced pretty much out of nowhere and is exclusive to the iPhone. People are still upset about that to this day, but I played it with you guys here on stream, and I have to say that this is one of the best 3D Sonic games made so far. And not to mention, what I find most impressive is that it's the 3D Sonic game that advances the story, which is practically his last original game. Because after that, there was Shadow Generation, which people are saying is a spin-off, and I think it's more like an expansion of the story from an old game. And after that, nothing else. Literally nothing. What came after was Sonic Racing, and that was it. Sonic Dream Team, man, it's that game that could even get a port now, taking advantage of the hype. And also, after a few years, I think SEGA would really benefit from taking a game from this story, even if it's a completely filler story, and re-releasing it for several consoles. This game was really cool at the time because it was a game that really expanded character gameplay in 3D space. We had like Sonic and AM with similar abilities, being speed characters who used a lot of boost and were really easy to control. A very colorful setting, really smooth animations, and very well-designed stages. At the same time, flying characters like Tails and Cream were also introduced here. Exploration and research characters like Knuckles and Rouge. And there was even a DLC with Shadow, but I didn't play that DLC. I stopped playing the game because, well, it's hard to keep an iPhone. Then this question came up, could this game be the port? Actually, no, it's because now there's a bet that SEGA could release a new mobile game. To be honest, I don't know what to expect from this. We have rumors about several SEGA mobile games and even remnants of previous projects that ended up becoming animations. Like Xiao's animations, which ended up on the internet, they're on Sonic's channel, but they were actually rumored to be a mobile game that never moved forward. Even so, SEGA still invests a lot in mobile games because mobile games are what keeps Sonic's fanbase constantly renewing, okay? The classic games were the same thing, Sonic 1, 2, and CD, which unfortunately were removed from the Play Store, but they helped a lot of people get to know the game. Now, what's left, I don't know, was Sonic Mania on Netflix, and I can't even say if that still works. If you know, leave a comment here, okay? And continuing here with the big bet from the fans, here's more information for you. Sonic Speed Simulator. Man, you'd be really surprised to know that SEGA doesn't consider this game a main game, but rather one of their mobile ventures. As crazy as it sounds, this game is still getting so many updates and maybe so much expansion that it makes this game one of the biggest Sonic games of all time in terms of support. That's because Roblox has evolved a lot. And like, it's been years since I played this game. Because man, now it even has an adaptation of Sonic Frontiers basically as a map in the game. To be honest, I'm not a big fan. I don't really like Sonic Speed Simulator as much as I used to when I played it for the first time. But seeing how big it is now, it's normal to imagine that SEGA will keep expanding it more and more. I just think it's very RP, and honestly, I get tired of games like this really quickly. But a lot of people really like it, and that's why the game still gets support to this day. It shows that it really went way beyond what we imagined for a Sonic mobile game. The thing is, SEGA still loves what this game is bringing in for them, so they're going to take advantage of the profits this game gives. But here's the point. SEGA wants to keep making Sonic Speed Simulator grow more and more. Console players seem to enjoy Roblox on Xbox and PlayStation. It just needs a Switch release. But there's nothing else to do, right? It worked out. Now, there's a new prediction that Sonic Central will return this year. And I have to tell you guys this here, especially because, man, we just had the Summer Game Fest, the week of announcements from PlayStation, Xbox, PC, every company you can think of. And SEGA didn't have a big presence at any of the events. Actually, they just had a small appearance at each one. There's been talk for a long time now about how many things Sega is working on with Sonic, and there have been leaks. We have some inside information here. Man, there's a chance that Sega might actually show up. It's just a rumor, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Sega showed up with Sonic Central this year. Or if they created Sega Direct, their own Sega event, because Sega is a parent company with several studios under it. Sonic Team, there's Capellos, there's a bunch of stuff, and they're working on a lot of projects. If they show up now with their own brand new event broadcasting to everyone, it would be great. I wish they would go more in that direction, you know? Man, we've already seen several companies copying this format that Nintendo created years ago. And it would be really good to, set aside a segment for Sonic announcements and other games they want to promote. The visibility this would generate for them would be unbelievable. And it would put them back in the discussion once again. But seeing the amount of things they're working on, I wouldn't be surprised at all if this happened. So, you can comment here if you think Sega should go down this path or not. But man, it makes total sense in the grand scheme of things. In fact, Sonic Rumble is gonna get more expansions beyond this, right? This is already a prediction, but people are talking a lot about it. Then here's the thing, there are people waiting for the main Sonic game, but Sonic Rumble was left out of that. And I get it, I played Sonic Rumble in the beta, then I played Season 0, which was the test, when it was coming out everywhere. But it was really outside my wheelhouse here, and I see some people who play Sonic Rumble a lot, but there are also people who are ignoring it. Sonic Rumble still makes a profit for Sega. I see people saying, no, wow, it's a flop. Man, forget it. Console players don't play Sonic Rumble because Sonic Rumble isn't available for consoles, but it's on mobile and on PC, and people are playing it a lot. I only got upset with this game for one reason. It just deleted my save from Season 0, and I was really annoyed by that. I had Shadow unlocked. But then there are the campaigns that will probably happen, and leaks have been going on for a long time. One of them is Sonic and Fortnite. I know you're waiting for this, but the expectation is that it won't be anything too big, okay? Sonic and Fortnite has happened before. It was just, a car wrapped with a Sonic skin. There was Tails, I think Shadow, and Super Sonic. In other words, ridiculous. Yeah, my Fortnite account has the Sonic effect there, which is basically a Sonic spin dash wheel. And when you use the turbo, it plays the invincibility music from Sonic 3. It's ridiculous. Even though there are people who think there will actually be a playable Sonic with those giant legs. With the current state of Fortnite, I don't doubt anything anymore. I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened. But now thinking about it, Fortnite has mascots now, right? People saw it, there was SpongeBob and so on. What could happen? They could make the characters mascots. In fact, we know they're voiced. I think it's gonna be really funny if Sonic actually comes to Fortnite. And many sources say it's gonna happen. He'll have voice lines. And the lines in Brazil will be dubbed. It's going to be really funny if Sonic and Fortnite gets dubbed before Sega's official games do. Mark my words, this is going to be great. And it's going to be really funny. We're going to laugh a lot. But now, talking about something big, we already have that almost confirmation of Sonic for All Tiers Definitive Edition, which would be an updated Definitive Edition with all the expansions and DLCs. Which is pretty weird because SEGA itself didn't charge anything for those expansions, right? There was just that pre-order bonus and all, but there wasn't much else besides that. The game was updated for free because Sonic Frontiers was by far the best-selling Sonic game of the current generation. But then comes the question, what would this Definitive Edition be? Actually, it's an edition that's going to be released for the Nintendo Switch 2. I imagine there are a lot of discussions about this. There are rules about, for example, Nintendo Switch games with the title Switch 2 Edition because the database and the cartridge have to work for both Switch 1 and Switch 2. Since we know that Sega won't do that, they're going to release it as separate packages. Sonic X Shadow Generations, for those who played it on Switch 2, you can't play the same game on Switch 1, okay? There's no way. You would have to buy the game separately for each edition. Yeah, it's complicated. I talked about this here in the video about the Switch version of this game, but then comes the question. I think Sega is just doing this to re-release Sonic Frontiers on Switch 2. The Switch 2 is selling like crazy, and they could take advantage of that to sell a bit more of this game without adding anything new. But the cartridge could already come with all the content, and please don't let it be a key card because the Switch 2's memory is limited. So, fortunately, this game would be much better in a Switch 2 version, right? The PS5 version is, for many, a very well-optimized version, but the Switch 2 version could actually become the definitive one, just like what happened with Sonic X Shadow Generations on the Switch 2 version. Even so, people could also enjoy a definitive edition because it would be a complete version with everything included and with the expansions. As we know, the true ending of Sonic Frontiers is the DLC ending where you play as Tails, Knuckles, and Amy. And they end up saving Sonic here from corruption from cyberspace, and then you still face the true ending here, which is not a spaceship shooter game. This is definitely the definitive version, but we already have to expect that SEGA will announce the next Sonic game. We've already seen several rumors. There are rumors about Sonic Eclipse, which is Sonic going into different dimensions, which I think is terrible. It looks like Gianna Sisters. But anyway, it was a game where Sonic would enter the Eclipse dimension and then return to it and interact within the same world, but on two different planes. Alright, I know about that. I talked about it in a dedicated video here on the channel, and that's just a leak. But since this is a preliminary version of the game, a lot of things being worked on there might not actually happen. Just like Sonic Frontiers, it was much bigger in its early stages. The islands were gigantic, but they ended up being left out. Because we know how SEGA is, they start with a really big project and then start cutting it down, right? I've been saying this since Sonic 2 was supposed to have more stages than Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but they kept cutting and stripped down the whole game. That's how it is, man. SEGA doesn't change with that. Actually, the whole video game industry is like this, and it's never gonna change. But as for a game coming out this year, I doubt that's gonna happen. The most we're gonna see is a teaser for the next Sonic game, which should come out kind of alongside the new game, or rather the new movie, which is Sonic 4. But since we know there's going to be Sonic Central, right? It looks like there will be this Sonic announcement event. There are things we have to talk about, right? That are already being spread and shared out there. And they're real. One of them, for example, is the Sonic 4 movie. The only thing we've seen so far was the teaser that confirmed the cast of characters who will appear, but you might be surprised that there will be more characters. There are still more characters who will show up in the story of the Sonic 4 movie. I talked about it here with you, and I've already speculated a bit about what's coming, but we should see something soon, and why is that? After CinemaCon happened, a lot has already been revealed. We've already seen descriptions of scenes that weren't finished but were shown in private screenings. One of them was a scene with Robotnik saying he was going to save the world, and interactions with Sonic's team, Metal Sonic and Amy Rose. Even so, they're very limited, and the images weren't even edited yet. You know, they were very raw versions of the Sonic 4 movie project. Even so, all of this is still going to happen, and you, my friend, can be happy about it because the promotional season for the Sonic 4 movie is about to start, and it's going to be intense here. Not only are there some leaks that I've already talked about here on the channel, but man, we're less than a year away from the release of the Sonic 4 movie, so it's just a matter of time before the first teasers and trailers start showing up out there, alright? Maybe SEGA is waiting for all of this to announce everything together. Could be. I don't think so. Maybe it is. And one of the coolest things is Lego Sonic. Yeah, we've seen that SEGA has been partnering a lot with Lego lately, and one of those is the possibility of us seeing Lego skins showing up in Sonic DLCs. Man, not long ago we saw SEGA re-releasing the Genesis controller and the Genesis in Lego form, and yeah, we can imagine that this is going to happen in the Sonic Racing crossover. This is to celebrate Sonic's anniversary. I'll tell you, I'd already be really happy with classic Sonic joining Sonic Racing Crossroads, but still, the possibility of putting Lego in the game isn't new. It already appeared in Sonic Superstars as a skin, but it should also show up in Sonic Racing in some way. But it's going to be a paid skin. No, man, come on, I have to tell you this. I don't believe it's gonna be a free skin, it's gonna be a paid skin. Not on Sonic's side. SEGA's own characters are free in Sonic Racing, like the DLC, but the Lego brand won't be free. That's the issue. That's the big problem here. I find it hard to believe that it will be free, but still, if I want to dream a little, the partnership between Lego and Sonic has grown a lot since his appearance in Lego Dimensions. Even so, SEGA could reuse it and bring him back, man. There's so much potential for Sonic in his own Lego game that I think they let too much time go by and now it's out of reach. Of course, Lego Batman ended up becoming the big highlight and a game that took a long time to come out. Even so, a dedicated Lego Sonic game featuring several stages and different moments from various games would be a really great thing to see nowadays. In fact, the LEGO Games team today is infinitely better than anything they've managed to do in various projects and games, which honestly are way better than, man, the old games. Anyway, If we ever get that at some point, it would be a glorious moment for Sonic fans. Then comes this question. Man, I literally talked about Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition, new project for Sonic in 2027 with a new game. What about what's coming with Sonic 4? Movie, Sonic in Fortnite, Lego, Sonic collabs, Sonic Rumble, even the mobile game, and also Sonic Speed Simulator, which will still get updates. Man, there's a lot that's going to happen. I imagine that Sonic Central is going to happen. Or there will be a new broadcast from SEGA itself. I would like them to go down that path to create their own broadcast. Even so, SEGA is really keeping a lot of things under wraps. Because in the last few years when there wasn't a Sonic Central broadcast, everything related to Sonic was pretty much spread out across other events, not here. Here it was pretty much left aside. SEGA is going to do their own event, I have faith, or there will be another Sonic Central. So save this video to watch in the future and comment if we got the prediction right or not, okay?